Testing, testing, testing. Okay, we live? Okay, on your mark, get set, go. Good afternoon, y'all. This is the man in black mask, and he's here to read and share with y'all about a tragic incident that happened about a day or two ago, and this is the weekend. And, I'm sure a lot of you have read this. So I got two articles to read you about this. So maybe it was a good thing that I saved it for when this second article surfaced. That way I can read both and share them with you. Because there have been similar tragedies besides Louis Nix. And I just heard that, you know, former New York Giants linebacker Louis Nix found dead at age 29. Now, some of you might have heard about this already, but I read about this meanwhile last night, okay? Last night. And then I got to read it with y'all, okay? Now, this comes a mere 2.5 months after he was shot while changing a flat tire, okay? So let me backtrack to this article, okay? Former Giants Notre Dame player. Because before the Giants, he played for Notre Dame back in college. Now, this is Article 1, okay? See, this is the first article that I'm reading and sharing with y'all because this is just a human nationwide tragedy for sure. Okay? Ex-Giant and Notre Dame player Louis Nix III found dead at age 29. Some news that no parent or grandparent should ever want to hear because it's always fucked up, right? Whenever a parent has to bury his or her child, and even worse, when the grandparent has to bury his or her grandchild. Okay? Now that one in itself is just pure bullshit, man. And trust me, it would have messed me up, man, before anything else. Fucking audio, man. All right. Former Notre Dame and New York Giants defensive tackle Louis Nix III, who had been reported missing earlier in the week, was found dead Saturday by police in Jacksonville, Florida. Nix's mother confirmed to Action News Jacksonville that her son, who was 29, had passed away. Because he would have turned 30, he would have hit the big 3-0 July 31st. So he was born July 31st, 1991. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office towed a car, which matched Nix's vehicle description, from a pond near his apartment Saturday evening. The Sheriff's Office tweeted that they had found Nix, but did not indicate whether he was dead or alive. I just hope that this death was accidental and not a homicide, or whatever, because that's like the worst thing that could happen when a person dies as a result of murder, even suicide. Because it's also worth knowing that he was shot a few weeks before Christmas. On Friday, Nix's mother told Action News that her son had been missing since Wednesday, and she believes he was in danger because, quote unquote, this is out of the normal. Yeah, she's referring to her kid vanishing without a trace. Now, that would definitely raise red flags for all the parents and grandparents out there who constantly worry about your kids and grandkids. So I agree with you 500%. Nix left his father's Jacksonville home at approximately 10 a.m. on Tuesday, according to a missing person poster shared to social media, such as Instagram and Facebook and what have you. Nix was shot in December while putting air into his car tires during an attempted robbery at a gas station in Jacksonville, his hometown. A report by WJXT in Jacksonville said that the gas station was located around the corner from the pond from which the vehicle was towed by a police dive team. Now, speaking of shot while changing a flat tire, I think of Michael Jordan's father back in August 93, James Jordan. And then 4 years later, fast forward to January 97, Bill Cosby's son, Ennis Cosby, was shot and killed while changing a flat tire. And fast forward to a year later, Orlando Anderson, Tupac's rumored shooter, was shot dead in an unrelated incident while changing a flat tire. Okay. Now backtrack to Louis Nix. The bullet to his chest left Nix in the hospital for nearly 2 weeks, and some of his fragments remained in his sternum and his left lung. I know it sounds cliche, but more than anything, I'm happy to be alive, Nix told the South Bend Tribune in mid-December. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has not indicated whether the shooting in any way is related to Nix's death. I hope not, man. I sure hope he wasn't murdered. Because that shit would piss me if word got out that he was killed. Earlier in the day, Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly tweeted out a message on the situation. Notre Dame Nation, let's do our best to reach out and connect with Louis Nix. Kelly tweeted. Louis, let us know you are going all right. No, you are doing all right, or that you may need your Notre Dame family and friends for assistance. Nix, who played defensive tackle, was one of the team's leaders in Notre Dame's unbeaten 2012 regular season. Nix, a junior at that season indeed, started 11 games and led all Irish defensive linemen with 50 tackles and made a team high 5 pass breakups. Yeah, a team high 5 pass breakups. Wow. So he was determined to make it in the NFL. So it's always good when a person goes from the minor leagues to the major leagues and suddenly is at the top of his game. And then when something like this happens, it's a tragedy. Nix played in the NFL from 2014 to 2017, not too long ago. He was a member of the Houston Texans, Giants, and Washington football team and Jacksonville Jaguars, and mostly a reserve and practice squad role. He played in 4 games for the Giants in 2015, but was waived by Big Blue the following season. Now, I just have one more article related to this to read and share with all of you because, like I said, I don't believe none of this shit happened. I just can't believe that he had to go through that kind of shit at such a young age, you know? And now, this is part 2. Notre Dame pays tribute to Louis Nix after his death. Because he was a beloved Notre Dame player in his own right, okay? So all this is going to come in handy. I'm putting it all into one, okay? All into one. Why? Because this story is about Louis Nix and nothing else. If it wasn't about Louis Nix, I wouldn't have even put this shit out there. The Notre Dame football team paid tribute to their former defensive lineman Louis Nix III, who was found dead Saturday morning in his hometown of Jacksonville after being reported missing earlier in the week, and he was indeed 29 years old. We are saddened by the loss of one of our own, Louis Nix III, the Fighting Irish's football team official Twitter account posted Sunday. We send our deepest condolences and love to his family, friends, and football brotherhood. Forever in our hearts, Big Blue. Nix, who played for Notre Dame from 2010 to 2013, who was reported missing by his mother on Friday. She said he was last seen leaving his father's house in Jacksonville on Tuesday, and that they usually speak frequently. So she told WJAX TV that his lack of communication was just out of the ordinary. Because remember, it's worth noting that the late Louis Nix III was very close to his mother. Him and his mother had a good bond. Now, some of you have been very close to your moms and dads. Some of you haven't. Okay? But like I said, those of you that haven't been close to your parents or grandparents, please pray for them. Because at the end of the day, that is your family. And that's all you got left. When nobody else gives a shit, of course. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office announced Saturday night that they had located Nix, but did not release any additional information. A few hours earlier, authorities pulled a vehicle out of a pond that closely matched the description of Nix's vehicle. Now, I'm still fucked up over this because why? I'm a fan of New York, and he happened to play for one of my favorite teams, the New York Giants. And for him to fish his car to the river with his body inside, come on. That had to hit far more close to home than, how can I say this? Kobe Bryant, when he played for the Lakers, and him and his daughter crashed on that plane and then they died. And I also remember back in 1999, right, when JFK Jr. and his wife, Carolyn Bissett Kennedy, and sister-in-law Lauren Bissett, they plunged into the river and their bodies weren't found for another 2 days. I'll never forget that. And I'll never forget, fast forward 2 years later, Aaliyah died in a plane crash. All of you remember that too. That too was fucked up. Okay, this one was 29, Louis Nix III. Let's say Aaliyah was 22 and didn't really have a future. Well, she had a future, but then she went in that plane and it crashed. So it's always tragic when people die young. Dying young is never a good thing. It's always preferred that a person dies old and dies young. It's never no fun when a person dies too young at age, let alone 29. Like how Louis Nix III was. Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly posted a video compilation of interviews with Nix, as well as some of his memorable on-field moments, writing, Louis Nix, Irish chocolate. We carry these memories until we see you again. After losing Notre Dame following the 2013 season, Nix was drafted by the Houston Texans in the third round of the 2014 NFL Draft. He later was claimed off waivers by the Giants in September 2015, but only made it as far as the team's practice squad. Nix also played on the Washington football team's practice squad, as well as the Jaguars. In December 2020, Nix was shot while putting air in his tires during a gas station robbery, but survived. But then he had bullet fragments in him, and saying he had half a lung as a result. His mother said she did not believe the incident was related to his disappearance, however. She did say that he had been hesitant to leave his house ever since. Now, that is a sign of post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of us have been affiliated by some form of post-traumatic stress disorder, given some of the traumas that we went through, if not as children, definitely as adults. But trauma has been almost an everyday part of life for minorities like me. Okay. The worst is when it hits your adulthood. Childhood trauma is one thing, but adulthood trauma, that can be worse than childhood trauma in some cases, depending on what kind of trauma that you went through as a kid. During at which point I'm not judging, but I'm just saying trauma of any kind is not good. Let alone Nick's getting shot and losing half his lung. I'm glad I never got shot. I've been in situations that could have got me shot, but thank God I didn't get shot. Thank God I'm still alive. I'm still here. The man in the black mask is blessed that he's still alive. Nix underwent surgery after the shooting and wrote on Twitter that the bullet ricocheted off his sternum and into his lung. Now, all I gotta say, my heart goes out to the Nix family. Okay, they are grieving right now. My heart bleeds for the mother because she just lost her son. She now has to live with the prospect of having to bury her son, something that every parent dreads, burying their young. When they're young, should be burying the old. Whenever the old buries the young, it is tragic. It is hard to get out of your system. You don't flush shit like that down the toilet. It stays with you for the rest of your life. You see, if I had a kid that I had to bury, guess what? I'd be fucked up too. And I'd go crazy, and I'd probably be on the verge of far worse than PTSD. I probably would have had a manic episode right about now. Because who the hell should have to bury their little kid? That's the one thing that pisses me. Whenever the parent has to bury their young. I know a few people that died young, way before their parents. Okay? And their parents ended up having to bury them, pay funeral costs and shit. When it should be the other way around. So yeah, it is personal to me. Given the people that I was affiliated with in the past. Some of which I went to school with. So yeah, this affects me 500%. It's never a cool thing when the young dies before the old. It's even worse when the grandparent has to bury the grandkid. I'm sure nobody never wants that. Hell, I don't want to bury my kid or grandkid too young. I would rather them bury me. Okay, but for something like this to happen to Louis Nix, who was just 29 and ahead of his time, I mean, that is just senseless, as it is tragic. I can't make sense of this thing, and neither can you, because this is just tragic on every aspect. Okay? Like I told you about Tupac and JFK Jr. and Aaliyah. JFK Jr., he was 29 when he died. He was 29. I'll never forget this July 1999 when his plane hit the river with Carolyn, JFK Jr.'s wife, and Lauren Bissett, Carolyn's sister, a.k.a. JFK's sister-in-law. They went down along with the plane. And about a day or two later, their bodies were found. None of them survived. And I'll never forget this one August morning when I was sound asleep in my own room, right? I was a teenager. And then I heard on the radio that rapper Aaliyah has died at the age of 22. She was on that plane that crashed right after takeoff. Only one person got out alive. I just wish that one person was Aaliyah, but it was just that one person who went unidentified to this day. We don't know if it's a he or a she, but that person did get out of the plane alive. Not Aaliyah, but that sole survivor, that lone survivor in question. And like I said, man, each time I think of these people, including Louis Nix, I think, Jesus, Harry, Christ. That could have been me. That could have been me that got fucking killed so violently. Because I've been in many situations that could have got me killed. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because I did some shit as a kid and as an adult. Okay? And many of which could have got me locked up or dead. But thank God I'm still here. Okay? And that's why I signed up to YouTube to share my thoughts and opinions with some of the news stories that I read to you. Because a lot of that stuff resonates with the man in the black mask. I like to share with my audience because it's resonating at times. So far every article I've read to y'all resonates with each and every one of you. That's why a lot of you love my channel and would listen to it from here and then. Sometimes show it to your friends, whatever. Okay, good. Opinions do matter. That's another reason why I signed up for this channel, because opinions, they matter. Okay? Most journalists, when they read stories, they neglect to share their opinions. And that's another reason why the man in the black mask signed up for this channel. Okay? And I just told you about Louis Nix because some of it was half personal, given the stuff that I went through, that I saw other people that probably went through. Because I knew this one person that got shot. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I knew of a person that got shot. I don't know where he is now, but I used to know him. Anyway, thank you for listening to the man in the black mask. Don't forget to like and subscribe, right? And drop a question underneath the screen and tell me what you think about all this. The man in the black mask is dying to hear from you. He loves to talk with each and every one of you. Okay? Good luck, be well, and have a good day. If I have another story to share with you, I'll get it out, no problem. Don't forget me.